Welcome to Embedded Projects. Today we are going to see an interesting project of how to create a pulse oximetry by using Raspberry Pi. So pulse oximetry is a non-invasive method for monitoring the person oxygen saturation. So along with the pulse oximetry, we are also going to measure the heart rate. For that, we have the sensor called MAX 30100, which is the integrated pulse oximetry and heart rate monitor. So by using the MAX 30100, we are going to measure both the pulse oximetry and also heart rate together. Okay. So MAX 30100 is basically a low noise analog signal processing. It will detect the oximetry and heart rate signals and gives a better quality. Okay, so this is the MAX. So as you can see, this is the MAX. So it is very compact. MAX 30100 sensor. It is very compact, and it is based on I2C communication. Okay, so this we are going to connect with the Raspberry Pi using I2C communication. So we know that I2C communication is which is pronounced as I2C is a synchronous multi-master, multi-slave, and packet switched single-ended serial communication bus. Okay, so this is basically invented by Philips Semiconductor, and it is widely used for attaching the low-speed peripheral ICs to the processors and microcontrollers, which has a shorter distance. Likely to say it's a intra-board communications. So we are going to connect MAX 30100 by using this I2C bus only. And then when we come to oximeter, what is oximetry? What is pulse oximetry? It's nothing but a non-invasive method for measuring the person's oxygen saturation. Okay, so by using this, we can measure the person's oxygen saturation, and this sensor does that work. And what is oxygen saturation? Means it's a fraction of oxygen. Actually, it is related to hemoglobin. So in hemoglobin related to the total hemoglobin in the blood. So human body requires and regulates very precise and specific balance of oxygen in the blood. So blood will have the balance of oxygen we should have in the blood. So this we use for measuring that oxygen saturation levels. Okay. Right now I have placed the sensor in the open type. Actually, the sensor should be somewhat closed in the some enclosure so that we can keep our finger and no other light interference should affect the sensor. So it should be closed in some enclosures, plastic enclosures, so that when we keep the finger, it should not be affected by the external lights as far as possible. Okay, right now for the testing purpose, how we can connect to the Raspberry Pi, I have just kept in the open space. Okay. So now we can check, see how we can connect. As you all know, the I2C has a 4 wires, VCC, ground, SDA, SCL. So we need to connect the. So we need to connect the sensor with the. So I just make it small. Okay. So we need to connect the sensor here. So we need to give 3.3 voltage or 5 volt. We can give either 3.3 or 5 volt. This sensor comes with internal pull-up. So I am giving 5 volt. And here you can see the GPIO 2 and GPIO 3 is there, right? So these are SDA, SCL, and ground. So we need to connect the SDA of sensor to the SDA of the GPIO and SCL of sensor to the SCL of the GPIO. So this is how the connection should be: SDA to SDA and SCL to SCL, and we have to give the power supply VCC and ground. So this is only a 4-wire connection. You can leave the rest of the interrupt and any other connection that you can use it in other boards like Arduino or any other microcontroller. For connecting with the Raspberry Pi, only 4 wires is sufficient. Okay, so this is how the sensors can be connected. Okay, now let us go to the Raspberry Pi through VNC. So I'm just opening the VNC. Okay, it's already open, right? Okay. So the Raspberry Pi is already booted and connected to the system via VNC. So this is the VNC Raspberry Pi screen. Okay, so this is the Raspberry Pi screen. So first of all, I am going to check whether the I2C device, whatever the I2C device I have connected is activated or not. So in my last video, I have shown you how to activate the I2C, but again I will show you how to do that. So for that you have to go to sudo raspi config. Okay, so you have to go to the sudo raspi config, and in the interfacing options, okay, just a second. So you have to go to the sudo raspi config, and in the interfacing options you have to go to the I2C. Okay, and you have to say yes for I2C, so that I2C will be enabled. So after that you can start using your I2C devices. So in our last video we connected ADS115 for ADC through I2C. Now we are going to connect the Macs through I2C. So now I2C is enabled, and after enabling the I2C you can check whether it is actually enabled or not by checking it in the boot config. After reboot you can check it in the boot config. So you can go to the cat boot config.txt file. You can see it is added. So I'm just gripping the word I2C alone. Okay, so it will be showing dt param equal to I2C arm equal to on. So this is the thing how you can check whether the I2C is enabled or not, and also you can check it in the modules. Okay, so you can just ls dev, okay, and you can grep I2C, and you can see the I2C device there. It is I2C 1. In the earlier boards it is I2C 0. So I am just going to detect whether the sensor, whatever the sensor I connected to the Raspberry Pi is detected or not. So for that I have the command sudo I2C detect -y1. Okay, so it will give the list of I2C devices connected. So you can connect multiple I2C devices in the same I2C port, and based on the address you can access. Okay, so by using only two wire you can connect so many devices to the two wire, and you can access the device based on the address. So now the address of the max 23 30 100 is 557. Okay, so based on this address we can access. So this is how I can verify the I2C is connected or not. Okay, fine. Next, you have to download the files I have given in the GitHub. Okay, in the link in the, below the in the description. So after downloading, it has a library file for Max 30100, and also it has a test application, test Python file for testing the Max. So I just going to transfer those files here. So these are the files I'm just transferring to the Raspberry Pi through VNC. So it is transferred. Just getting back, okay, to the desktop. By default it will be in the desktop. I'm just taking it to the Pi directory. Fine. So now the file is transferred from the system to Raspberry Pi. I just ls, okay, it's there. So I just making getting into the cd to the folder. Fine. So it has the two files. One is max30100.py. This is the library file. Okay. So this file will be used for getting the data from the sensor. All you have to do is you need to just import this library file to your program and use it. Okay. So I'll just show you the file library inside the library file what it is. So for that I'm just going to use the idle and max30100, and so you can see it has some macros and pulse width, sample rate. So whatever the things essential for the sensor is there. Also you can change the LED current. So you can see here. So these are the things that is required for the Max. It has the required classes. So by using this class you are going to create the object in the file and you can directly use it. Okay. So enable, disable. So all these functions are there inside the Max model. Okay. So now I am going to open the test file. So for opening the test file, I'm just opening sudo idle, okay, and I have the file name test max30100.py. So this is the code. It's a simple code, okay. So this is the entire code. It's a simple code. Raspberry Pi, as you know, the Raspberry Pi is a single board computer and which is very easy to program. And here we are most of the time we are using Python. In some other videos you can also see JavaScript and C++ using, but in mostly we are using the Python. So the name Raspberry Pi stands for Python, right? So we are going to use the Python. So this is a simple Python script for reading the data from the Max sensor, Max 30100 sensor. So initially what we are going to do is we are going to import the max library and the time library. Time library for creating the delay and max library for getting the data from the sensors. Okay, and after that, so you can create an instance for your chip. Actually, you can create an instance or object for the max class. So next two lines, these lines are we are creating the instance. So this is the line that is creating the instance for your max class. Okay, and after that, I'm going to enable the SPO2. Okay, so I'm just enabling the SPO2, and then I can directly read from the sensor by using the read sensor. So this is the read sensor function of the max class. Okay, so by in the while loop, because we are going to create an instance once, and in the while loop I am going to read the data again and again and print it in the terminal. Okay, so here you can see I am just reading from the sensor. So sensor consists of two values, one is IR and one is red. Okay, so red and IR, so the latest values are available in the IR and red variables of the max class. So we are going to get that value, the latest values, and display it in the screen. Okay, so to read a current sensor values from the max chip, you are going to use dot read sensor function, and after that it will retrieve the latest values and store it in the buffer. And to get the values from the stored place, you have to access the variables dot ir and dot read. So that is what we are doing. We are accessing the variables dot ir and dot read and getting the latest value that is stored there. Okay, so if you perform another sensor read, you will see the value in the dot read parameter. So whenever you perform a read sensor, you will see the value in the parameter. Okay, so after getting the value dot ir and dot read value, you are going to store the dot ir is nothing but your art pulse, and dot read is nothing but a SPO2s. Okay, so I am just dividing it by 100 because it will be in the terms of multiples. So I'm just dividing it by 100 and getting the final required value, and these values I'm just going to print it here. Okay, I'm just going to print it here. So I'm printing both IR and red values. So this is a simple code, and this code is uploaded in the GitHub repository along with the library. You can download and use it. Okay, so now let us test the sensor. So for testing the sensor, I am just going to, so let us make it big. Okay, so now let us test the sensor. For testing the sensor, I'm just going to run this code, run module. Okay, so it's giving some junk values. Okay, and after that, okay, it's giving some junk values. So now I'm going to place my finger so that the value will get stabilized. So I'm just keeping my finger in the sensor. So you have to wait for some time. It will take some time to stabilize the values, the actual values. So that is why when you see the oximetry readers available in the market, it will take some time. It will give in percentage, and after 100% is completed, it will give the actual values, right? It will take some time to stabilize the user values. Okay, I think it is somewhat stabilized. Okay, so I am getting the value pulse and SPO2 values here. So these are the stabilized uncalibrated values. Then you can calibrate it to the actual thing. Whatever, if there is a difference between the actual value and the red value, you can calibrate it accordingly. So this is how the sensor will read the pulse and SPO2 values from your finger. Okay, so it is very easy to integrate. So all you have to do is you have to activate the I2C, and then after activating the I2C, you have to connect the sensor and check what whether the sensor is detected by using the I2C detect, and then you have to download the library and just run the test file, and you can add this code to your actual application program. Okay, so this is the last stored buffer value. Whatever you are getting there is the last stored buffer value, and after some time it will become 0. Okay, so this is how it will work. So it will take some time to stabilize the value it is receiving. Okay, now you can see it is 0. And again I'm going to keep my finger. So and it is processing right now. After processing it will give the actual data. Until it is processing, the values will be stored in the buffer. So you got the value. So now you got the value. So this is how it works. So thanks for watching.